Do something to wrestle with. Bruce Pritchard.
Well, you know, that's not a rib. She booted.
She booted.
Is that a rib? No, you got with me. There's no box of gimmicks.
Rumor and innuendo.
I don't deal in rumor and innuendo. And was he there? I was there. I don't give a shit. I ain't scared.
I ain't scared of
Fuck
shit.
him.
You, Bruce.
Double cheeseburger. You take the double cheese, you know, and then double mayo, you know, it's called chicken salad. Double onion pie.
You're nothing but an egg-sucking dog. Throw it in the Google machine.
Goddamn kid.
Goddamn it.
What the hell's showing up there?
I need more. Yeah. What say you?
Pronoun. Well, and now, something to wrestle with. Con Bruce Pritchard. The second Conrad Thompson.
What happened to win? Well, what would Vince say about that?
Well, hey Vince, tell you, my shoulders look good today. Yeah, it's so big. Yeah, let's go.
Bullshit.
Welcome to Wrestle.
Roll tide on that.
Welcome to something to wrestle with. Something to wrestle with.
Something to wrestle with.
Dig it.
Bruce Pritchard. Hey, it's Conrad Thompson, and you're listening to Something to Wrestle with Bruce Pritchard. Bruce, what's going on, man? How are you?
Oh, not much. Been kind of quiet week.
I can't
My
imagine.
teeth came out. They keep coming out, Conrad. I got temps in, and I sent you a picture. But I sent you a picture with just one of them gone, but the two front teeth keep popping out at the most inopportune of times too. And all I got is little metal pegs that are up there. It's pretty annoying.
All I want for Christmas is my two front teeth.
I ain't waiting for Christmas, dog.
Hey, you know what's funny is you'd think after all that we've done together here on the show, you would know better than to go to Kane for your dental work.
Well, you know, it was Dr. I Yankum, DDS, and the price was right.
You know what's funny is we are such assholes to each other in real life that when you send me this toothless selfie where you can tell you are not feeling good and hurting, but you're in a bathroom mirror, I replied with, what the fuck? And then the next text was, you got the all-new iPhone 11 and didn't tell me? Just completely no-sell the tooth at all. I mean, I guess what I really want to know now that we're actually on the phone together is, how you liking that new iPhone, buddy?
You know, it's okay. It's good, I think. You know what happened to me is I dropped it in Vegas talking to Senor Silva.
Oh, God.
So, technically it's his fault. And since he now works for you, I say it's your fault. And it got progressively worse throughout the day. At first I had a green line on one side of the phone. Then from there it went to I couldn't touch parts of the screen and it wouldn't work. And I had to go to Denver and spend 7 hours in a Denver mall at the Apple store. Not the best time management, if you will.
Well, you know, I should tell everybody that we've got a, maybe my favorite format that we do here on the show. We're going to do Ask Bruce Anything today. There were more than 1,000
You already
questions.
have. You asked me like 2 questions already. We're done?
We're almost done. Next week, though, we're doing something totally different. We're going to watch Halloween Havoc from 1998. It's one of the worst pay-per-views of all time. It's a rematch with The Ultimate Warrior and Hulk Hogan. And we are basically going to be picking on WCW for 3 hours because this is the show where we've got Goldberg and DDP in the main event, and they would go off the air before the main event would finish airing. Just, man, if it could go wrong, it did. The following week, it'll be all about Fabulous Moolah, and then we'll do a watch-along on November 8th. And this will be before Bruce was there. It's the Wrestling Classic from 1985. Get a little old-school flavor going for us. And we'll round out the month of November with Survivor Series 99 on the 15th, Survivor Series 89 on the 22nd, and Survivor Series 94 on the 29th. So it'll be all about Survivor Series in November. But, you know, we can't do a show today without addressing the elephant in the room. One of our pals did not survive in WWE. Mr. Eric Bischoff is out. You have replaced him as the SmackDown czar. And, of course, our Twitters collectively blew up. Do you want to release some sort of statement or speak to our audience? Just let them know what's going on?
I'll address it at the end of the show.
Sounds great. Let's keep it moving, and let's go ahead and get to great friend of the show, Bad Money Slim, who writes in, give us a horrible sex, drugs, and rock and roll story you've never told on the air, and you can change the names, or no names, in fact, to protect the innocent.
Wow. Oh boy. As far as funny goes, I one time, or more than one time, I had some friends that used to smoke in the rooms, and there got to be a point, you know, where for the most part all hotels became smoke-free zones. You couldn't smoke cigarettes, you couldn't, you know, no smoking at all in the hotel. So if you were going to imbibe in the ganja, then you had to get creative as to how you did it. And that was the wet towels, that was the shower going with a lot of steam. You spray your cologne to mask the odor, open up windows, whatever. And there were these two guys that had done this, and they always got together and would imbibe. And one of them got into town before the other and couldn't wait. They were smoking in their room, and the fire alarm went off, and the entire hotel was evacuated. Not just one, I mean, the entire hotel was evacuated. And finally, at the end, you know, he was sitting down in the lobby, and they came up to him.
What time of
What's
day?
that?
What time of day is this when this evacuation happens?
About, I think, like 10:30, 11 o'clock at night.
Okay. So some folks are asleep, and they're out of bed now, uncomfortable and discombobulated, wondering what the hell's going on.
In their jammies.
Yes.
And this one guy's sitting there, and they kind of noticed him, and they walked up and said, "Excuse me, are you in room 724? He says, I'm not sure what my room number is. What's your name?" I told him his name. And they said, "Well, yeah, you're in 724. Look, you can't smoke in the rooms because the fire alarm is directly in correlation with the fire department. And if anything goes off, we have to evacuate, and this is what has happened." So the fire marshal or the fireman came over and talked to him, and so on and so forth. So now his buddy gets in the next night. They go to the room. He says, let's meet in your room." And they go to their room, they fire it up, and next thing you know, the fire alarm's going off. And he's like, "Oh, fuck, I forgot to tell you." So last night, he tells them the whole story. And they run out of the room, and they go downstairs to evacuate, and they're sitting in the lobby, and they're looking around going, nobody else is evacuating. Like, we're the only people sitting in the lobby. And the front desk comes up to them and says, "Excuse me, are you in room 726? And they're like, "I don't really know what my room was." Just, "Yeah, we think you're in 726. This time, whatever they did, the fire people had come in and they had rewired or redone the alarm system so that it went to the hotel only first. Then it went to the fire department. If the hotel then had to do another step to call the fire department. So if something like that happened, the alarm only went off in the room where there was smoke. And they were busted good. And that was a funny one. That was kind of like, made you go,
Totally unrelated. You can hear lots of fun old school stories right now from our great friend Gerald Briscoe at FG Briscoe on Twitter. Every week right before Monday Night Raw, he's putting out stories by Briscoe, and he's pretty excited about it. And friend of the show, if you dig the content we're putting out for you here, you might even dig that. So check it out. Jay Ahola wants to know.
That was an awful coincidental plug.
Well, no, I just know that he tells old stories
because
too.
we're buddies and we would travel together. I understand the correlation now. Okay.
Yeah, saying anything. Jay wants to know, how would you have booked Hogan and Brett in 1993?
In 1993, I think that I would have loved to have turned Hulk heel. I would have loved to have turned Hulk heel and had him work an extended program with Brett, ending up with, I would have had Hogan take the championship from him in the middle of that, but I would have ended up with Brett in the title.
Let me ask, how would you have turned Hogan heel in 93? Like, what would you have been able to do to make that loyal, faithful WWF audience that grew up with him, literally, turn their back on him?
I think that with you take the jealousy role and you be able to just amplify that a little bit and do nothing different than what we were doing, because during the time the audience was booing Hulk. There was a segment of the audience that was already booing him. So just kind of flip the script and do similar to what we did with The Rock. You bring him in and you put him against the guy that is the champion, that is becoming beloved, and just it's a simple jealousy angle. And I think that one would have been the right way to turn him, at least in WWE, because it would have been a tough road, I'll say that, because there were pockets, man, that Hulk was the hero and nothing was going to change that.
No doubt, it would have been tough for me to get behind booing him, but you know what could have been. Jay Stovall wants to know, before returning to WWE, you were involved backstage for MLW. What eventually led to cause you and MLW to part ways?
Oh, that's easy, my schedule, because we were doing more and more live events on the road, and MLW had gone from being a Thursday night TV taping to the weekends. And when they started running on Friday and Saturday for their TVs, I could no longer make those dates anymore because of the stuff that you and I were doing. And they coincided a lot for 3 months in a row, and I just thanked Court and said, hey, this was fun, but I've got to go do my own deal.
I'm pretty excited that they're going to be doing their pay-per-view debut next month. I think it's going down in Chicago. What are you looking forward to with MLW? I know you still keep up with some of that talent here or there. Anybody from MLW really impress you and stick out? I know once upon a time you were a big Matt Riddle fan, but Matt's now with NXT, and I think he used to be a Tom Lawler fan.
I still am a Tom Lawler fan, and I think that Tom is kind of that shining star there to me. I think that Tom has that innate it factor that they just need to bring out a little bit more. And if you let Tom be Tom, I think he could be a player at some point for him. And look, MLW is a place where a lot of talent that is not scooped up by all the other guys, they can go out and they can shine and show their wares. Gino Medina coming in. You've heard me talk about Gino before. I think Gino is going to be a huge star for the future. So it's someplace that's get on the radar, and it's a great place to be.
It is. I mean, it's been a launching pad. It's the first place that I saw MJF. It's the first place that I saw Mance Warner. I've seen a lot of talent that is really getting over and making some waves now. I saw him for the first time at MLW. So if you're listening to this show and you haven't checked out anything from MLW, go out of your way to do so. They're on BN Sports. You can catch up with them a little bit right now on YouTube. They got a pay-per-view coming up next month. So be old school. Give them a shout. Check them out. Kurt Zamora wants to know, any good Mr. Kennedy stories? Do you think he has enough to do a full profile show on one day?
I don't think so. You know, Ken is a really talented guy, but Ken, in a lot of respects, for whatever reason, and some people can get snake bit like this, that as soon as he tasted a little success, unfortunately, he would either get injured or something would happen, whether it be behind the scenes or in the ring, whatever it is, that would prevent him from getting to that next step. That happened in WWE, it happened in TNA, and while I think that Ken is one of those guys that can deliver, he can deliver in the ring and he can deliver in his promos, Ken always doubted himself a lot of times. And I think that maybe it was that tiny bit of insecurity that may have been the one thing holding him back.
I just recently read a little bit about Ken, and I read about it in a place that I never expected to, but I want to give it a plug now. Life is Short and So Am I. It's the new book from our pal Dylan, the former Hornswoggle. Go out of your way to check it out. It's a short read, but Ross Owen Williams, who has been a big player in professional wrestling memoirs for a long time, collaborated with Dylan. They did a phenomenal job on this. You can pick it up on Amazon. The name again, Life is Short and So Am I. My life inside, outside, and under the wrestling ring. Did Dylan send you a copy of that book? Have you checked it out yet?
No, little bastard.
I get you. I got you. I know you.
I want an autograph. They cost extra.
Does he do that? I didn't know if
They got those,
stamp.
you know, like the pencils you get at the for the
Little People Store.
no, when you play mini golf,
Oh,
they have those. He can sign it.
boy, we should just roll credits. We're not beating that. Dave Buchanan wants to know.
How do you think he wrote the book?
Shorthand.
Okay.
Dave Buchanan wants to know, how come at SummerSlam 90, the tag team partner on the outside stood at the opposite ring post we're used to seeing? And he included a picture here that I know you're not looking at. But it is interesting because usually we would have, you know, one team bottom right and the other team top left. For whatever reason here, we've got a team top left or bottom left and top right. So it's the exact opposite of what you would normally see. So it does feel like a production note, like, God damn, we've got to switch it up, try something new.
I have no fucking idea.
I know, but if I don't ask you those questions, then people think that we're avoiding them. Mayhem wants to know, can you talk about Jim Johnston, how WWE met him? Did he have any other outside roles beyond music? What was your favorite theme he's done? Is he low-key one of the most important guys in the history of WWE? And most importantly, who has been his replacement?
Well, Jim, extremely talented guy. When I first met Jim, he had been with the company for a while, and his studio was in the basement of a church in Greenwich, Connecticut. Jim did all the music for WWE, whether it be the opens or the talent theme music, what have you. But Jim was an unsung hero that, so I did their unsung because he did music, he did sing. As far as creating the soundtrack for so much of what we did. And Jim eventually moved from the basement of the church into the new studio and had a big, beautiful music studio there. I couldn't tell you. I think that there's just a lot of different people that that contribute a lot on the music side of things after Jim left, and I don't really know, but there's a lot of different avenues that they get music from.
It's amazing to me that this was, you know, he was such a big part of the company for so long, and now he's out there. I mean, I think it was announced not too terribly long ago that he's doing theme music, or he did some song for Impact, I think, and I don't know, just caught me off guard. Just assume that Jim Johnston is a lifer. Mike wants to know, on the In Your House Ground Zero, easy for me to say, on the In Your House Ground Zero episode, Bruce Pritchard references Jerry Jarrett smoking weed with Al Gore. Is this a true story? And whether true or not, what would that have sounded like?
No, I don't know. I know that Al Gore and the Jarretts were acquaintances, but no, I didn't say they smoked dope. If I did, I was kidding.
Calm down,
God
Barbara
damn.
Bush. Dope. He said marijuana. He didn't say heroin. Josh.
Well, I know, but I don't think I said that. I may have just
Well,
jokingly said that.
Well, you know.
You know, Al, pass the reefer over here, huh? How you roll it? Well, first, what you do? Well, you take the paper, and you put it. You take it and you hold, and then you crumble up. Well, the ganja, and okay, and then you sprinkle and roll and live.
Hey, so since you're back now, spending a lot of time with Vince, have you broken out the old Jerry impression since you've been back, and did he recognize it right away?
Everybody recognizes it. I do it more with Jeff than anything.
I don't know why that's funny, but it is. Oh my gosh, you guys are cool.
Want to feel at home.
You ever eaten crackers? Mike writes in, who does Bruce Pritchard consider to be the greatest heel of all time? Who was the best at getting heat from the crowd, and does Bruce think it's harder to be a true heel these days with the way the business has changed?
Well, it's definitely harder to be a heel these days. That goes without saying, because I'm not sure that there are a lot of talents out there that truly want to be hated. I think that the business has changed, that guys want to be stars and be famous, but they don't really want to be hated, and that's a true art. Modern time, I think that JBL accomplished that. Hated in all walks of life, but I think of all time, when you go back and you look at heels that could always go out and get heat, there were, people like Ivan Koloff, who no matter where Koloff went, Koloff was able to maintain his heat. The Sheik was someone who was feared legitimately all over the world, and the audience was genuinely afraid of him. So that, that's where you find a great heel. Someone where the audience is afraid and they're not really quite sure. Gino Hernandez was a great heel because he loved to be hated. He was able to tap into the inner button within everyone that just puts him over the edge.
I know that you probably haven't seen much of his recent stuff, but you worked with MJF.
Gino's?
No.
Oh.
He worked with MJF and MLW. I get the impression that either he wants to be a real heel or he's just a real asshole in real life.
Well, I hope he wants to be a real heel. I don't really know, but it's the difference between being one and playing the part.
Josh Kuhn writes in, now that Bruce is back...
He's not related to that other Kuhn, is he?
No, this is with a C, not a K.
Oh, thank God.
Now that he's back, is Pritchard pushing for Virgil to be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame this year?
Virgil was already inducted.
Not Dusty.
Oh, hang on, maybe I thought you was talking about Virgil. Oh, you're talking about Virgil.
I'm talking about fuck money. I'm talking about meat sauce. I'm talking about Olive Garden's finest. Mike Jones. Who? What the fuck does that mean? I said Mike Jones. And then I said the word who.
Shit. I'm walking, Conrad. I'm walking. This is dangerous in my hotel room. I'm walking. I'm stepping over wires to close the window, and I'm about killing myself. You never know. Never say never. Because I think that when you look back and look at the whole presentation of the $1 Million Man, and you look back in that heyday of the business, I think that Virgil was a big part of that, because he was always there, holding the money, doing whatever it is that the $1 Million Man needed him to do. So that could happen.
I'm not mad at it. Josh also wants to know, can Bruce tell us anything about the planned Duke the Dumpster Drose heel turn in '95, where he joined the $1 Million Corporation, but then it was seemingly abruptly dropped?
It just, Duke, man, Mike Drose was just such a nice guy that it was hard not to like him. And unfortunately, when he tried the heel turn, and $1 Million Man was going to clean him up, and instead of being a garbage guy, he'd be a sanitation guy. Little tweaks. It didn't come across true, and it came across like he was really trying to play a role, and it didn't feel genuine. It didn't feel like a real sanitation worker. He was more garbage man.
JDR wants to know, as long as you've been with WWE, what was your favorite era to work in and why?
I would have to say, I loved the late 80s, early 90s, really early, during that really hot period and what have you. Then from there, I think that, Attitude Era for the money, that was great. But as far as being left with a clean slate and having a lot of your top guys leave, the early 2000s, from 2000 till about 2006 those were some fun years because you were building new talent, creating new stars.
Brother Jack writes in, we've all heard how painful it could be to work with Shawn Michaels backstage, how no one liked the Ultimate Warrior. Who was the easiest person to work with?
Ted DiBiase was super easy. Teddy was great because Ted was such a pro and he could get anybody and everybody over. So Tito Santana was a joy to work with. People like that. Wahoo McDaniel was pretty easy to work with. Tough, but he was easy to work with if you were very clear with him and knew what the hell you wanted, man. But those guys kind of sit at the top of the list for me. Undertaker. But the easygoing guys in real life are usually the easiest ones to work with.
Mike Whitaker wants to know, do you think we could ever see Lex Luger in the Hall of Fame?
Yes. I think Lex Luger will be in the Hall of Fame.
I agree. We got lots of questions like this. I guess we should just attack it now. I don't know why everyone asks this no matter what happens, but Mark Buffalo wants to know, Bruce, is this your last podcast?
Today?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, because anytime you get a promotion,
the answer is no.
I know.
God damn,
I know. It's just anything. Oh, you're on the network? Well, the show's over. Oh, you're with MLW? The show's over. Show's over. Oh, we got a promotion? The show's over. But the show's not over, guys. Noon Fridays. Come on. Chris Herman wants to know, who was involved in bringing Vicky Guerrero to TV and appearing as a character? Did she approach WWE or did WWE approach her?
Vicky and I sat in Phoenix, Arizona in what was known as the TV office room. And we were talking. This was the first TV we were in Phoenix after Eddie's passing. It had been a while. Vicky came down to say hello and just be around the business. And we started joking about what if. Oh my God, could you see Vicky coming back? And could you see her managing Ray only to turn on him? And just this whole crazy things you would never do. And as we're talking, I said, gosh, would you actually do that? I mean, we're laughing about it, but it sounds really good. Would you actually do that? She says, hell yeah. And Vince's office was like right around the corner. And there was 2 hallways, and he was going down the back hallway, I think to go to catering or something, and I grabbed him and said, hey, come here, I want to throw something at you. Saw Vicky, and they hugged, and just we started reminiscing. I said, we talked about some crazy shit in here just a minute ago. I just want to throw this out at you because I think it would be good. And we threw out the idea of using her as a character, as a heel character. And we just got to talking about crazy scenarios. Oh my God, what if you did that? What if you fell in love with someone? All this other crap. And the rest, as they say, is history. Because she embraced it. It was, I don't know if in the beginning it was well, you know, here's the widow of Eddie Guerrero, let's do something for her. There may have been a tinge of that in there, but man, she delivered. God, she delivered. And it was...
Is she one of the biggest surprises, you think, in wrestling history? Like, you got to think some of that mentality of, well, you know, she's the widow of one of our most beloved, we should take care of her. But who would have ever guessed she would be as damn good as she was, though?
Yeah, no, she wasn't good. She was great. And she was a huge surprise. And you're going to laugh at this, but when you say people that you didn't think would get it, I never thought I'd get it.
Right.
With the Brother Love thing. I wanted to do it badly, but it was more of I wanted to be an interviewer with the personality. And I never in a million years dreamed that would get over to the level that it did.
Well, it got over. You know, it's remarkable that sometimes happens where you least expect it. Chris has another good question here. Why did Sunday Night Heat fade away? I always thought Sunday was a great night for wrestling, especially when football season was over, and I enjoyed it being a lead-in for the pay-per-view days.
Well, you know, who's this, Chris?
Yep.
Well, Chris, sometimes it's better to burn out than fade away. But it was difficult and was becoming expensive to produce because it was eating into the production time on the day that we were doing live television. And there wasn't that big of an audience. So we looked at how we could utilize that time and that production in other ways. And Sunday Night Heat lost out. But I see what you're saying. It was a great lead-in because people could go and get into the habit every Sunday of watching Sunday Night Heat. Forget about the pay-per-view, but then we could remind them the very last, the last few hours before we go into the pay-per-view. So it was a good vehicle, but it just kind of lost its place in the rotation.
Pretty fun question here that I don't think I've ever heard before. Mike Whitaker writes, if Eric would have sent the NWO to a Monday Night Raw, like DX was sent to a Nitro, would you have let them in?
Probably not.
I mean, that's got to be the answer. I know it's easy to say, oh, I would have let them in, but then when you really think about it on the other way, fuck that.
Yeah, we probably would have had him arrested or something.
Dan wants to know, Bruce, as far as you know, is there any such thing as safe steroid usage?
Yes. As far as I know, and again, I'm no expert on the subject by any stretch of the imagination. If you saw me without my shirt, you would understand. And trust me, I will never do that to anyone. But under a doctor's supervision, steroids were used to rehabilitate and help muscle rebuild faster. That's what it's used for. And I think that under a doctor's supervision, for what it was used for to help rehabilitate and repair muscle damage, yeah, I think the steroids have a purpose, and used under a doctor's supervision are perfectly safe.
All right, Dr. John Taylor wants you to put your booking hat on. I'm going to edit the question.
Somebody should have asked Dr. John Taylor about the goddamn steroids then.
Bruce, Hell in a Cell triple threat, Dodger versus Ginger versus Toby for the official dog of Something to Wrestle Championship. Tell us the creative.
Okay, well, first of all, Dodger would fuck Toby up. All right.
Toby, by the way, is Dave Silva's dog. For those of you who don't know, he posts about his mangy, stupid dog that pissed and shit all over my house for 3 days. I mean, I need a Sarah McLachlan song for that dog's stat.
Yeah. Yeah, Toby's a little asshole. But Dodger would fuck him up. Dodger would fuck him up, and he'd be out in the first 30 seconds. And then Dodger would have his way with Ginger. She would proclaim Dodger the champion and the official, something to wrestle with, Bruce Pritchard dog of the world, and the rest is history. But he'd have his way with Ginger.
I don't like what you're saying there. Listen.
I'm just saying, she would fall in love with Dodge.
Is there a character or gimmick match that you created that never made it to TV that you wish did?
Well, I didn't create it, but I tell you one that I wish would make WWTV is a 2-ring battle royal. Not only just the 2-ring battle royal, the way that we used to do it in Houston, but the 2-ring 6-man tag team match, which is always a favorite of mine. You have 2 teams of 3. And you have a match going on in each ring, and the third man is in between the rings and can tag into either ring and participate in either match. So I just always loved the 2-ring gimmick, and it's difficult in today's era because, oh God, it takes up so much floor space, and you lose good seating, and then you got to shoot a second ring all night. It's distracting, what have you. But I think it's distracting in a good way. It's distracting in a talking point way that you can talk about all night long and sell the idea of 2 rings. The other thing about it is that the rest of the matches, they can't use both rings. They can't go back and forth because that kills the matches that do use both rings.
I got you.
So that's one that I wish could make its way. Never was a big fan of things on a pole, but growing up in Texas, you always had the Texas death matches and Russian chain matches and Indian strap match. Everything had to have an ethnicity apparently attached to it. Russian chain match, Indian strap match, Texas death match. That's an opinion.
What about you said you weren't a fan of things on a pole, but Heartbreakers.
Good point.
Mike wants to know, when you finally get inducted into the Hall of Fame, who would you like to introduce you?
That will never happen, but I'd love for my brother to either induct me or Jerry Briscoe.
There you go. Jordan Eubanks wants to know, how in the world did Kevin Federline get involved with John Cena?
Kevin Federline, man, what a...
Some of you don't know, Kevin Federline was once upon a time married to one of the biggest stars in the world at the time, Britney Spears. And he became a bit of a cult figure in the tabloid TMZ.com era. And then magically one day he finds his way on TV wrestling on Raw.
Yeah. And Kevin Federline was probably one of the celebrities that I had the most fun with because he was so cool, so happy to be there, such a big fan. And there was there was probably a lot of fear in him because he knew he was out of his league and out of his element, but he was such a big fan. He was so happy to be there. And I walked into dealing with Kevin ready to hate him, because he came across like a real arrogant dick, the way that he was portrayed in the media. All the stories about him and Britney. And when he first came with us, he was still married to Britney, and then midway through, I think they got divorced and what have you. But I found Kevin, man, he was on time. He did everything he was asked to do. And you said, Kevin, I need you to be here at such and such a time and do this. Yes, sir. And he did it. He nailed it. So, contrary probably to popular belief, he was really a super, super fucking guy to work with.
BC NDC, Intercontinental Tag Titles, what was the plan?
I don't know. Well, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Once upon a time, there was a rumor that you guys were considering Intercontinental Tag Champions. Sort of like the NWA had World Tag Champ
just been a rumor that never made it to anybody seriously.
Here's something you'll have fun with. If so, could you rank them in order from best to worst? This gives you a chance to shit on all of our mutual friends.
Okay, well, let's rank them first. There's something to wrestle with, Bruce Pritchard, that I find highly entertaining and very good, and it's number one.
Sure, everybody knows that.
And then, what else do you do?
Oh, God. I do grill and shake.
Yeah, that's how...
83 weeks?
83 weeks, Eric Bischoff, that's about it.
Not a big...
And you want the honest answer?
You've never listened to any of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know that.
Conrad, a little busy sometimes.
I'm not upset, dude. You have 1.5 hours free per week, and you block that off for something to wrestle. So,
and I get to talk to you for that 1.5 hours.
Yeah. So why would we be spending our time together listening to other shows?
Yeah. That's the way everyone feels.
Jason wants to know, and I know you don't like to talk about current stuff, but this is a good question. I think you'll have fun with. What is something that you weren't expecting, good or bad, since you've been back to WWE?
The Sonic ice maker in the little coffee area. Do you have Sonic?
We do have Sonic, but there's probably
Sonic ice.
There's probably pockets of folks listening who don't know what we're talking about. It's like the small little cylinders of ice, not the bigger pieces, but the tiny, more crunchy ice. There's a lot of fast food hamburger joints here in America where they just sell bags of this ice. Yes, they still sell hamburgers and they sell milkshakes and tater tots and hot dogs and whatever the hell. But people will just straight up buy the ice, and it's commonly referred to as Sonic ice. And you can actually get some of those ice makers like for your home, but they're like $6 or $7 grand. So people instead just run down to the hamburger joint and pay $1 for a giant bag of frozen water in the shape of these little cylinders.
Well, we've got this little thing in the coffee area, and it's water, purified water, and ice. And it's small, but you hit the button, and you get the ice. And it's like the Sonic ice, and I love it. So I'm looking at it, I go, I wonder how much ice is actually in there. And so I kept filling up cups of ice, knowing that I had more cups of ice than could ever possibly. I don't know how it works, but I love it. So that's like my favorite thing.
I don't know what it says about you that in your free 3 minutes you decide, let's go fill up as many cups of ice as we can. You're an adult child and we love you. John Riga wants to know.
Trust me, you would do the same.
Where would you put WrestleMania 19 in your all-time favorite WrestleMania? It is my number one.
Well, my number one is WrestleMania 17, which we've discussed. And I think that 19 was great. It really was. It was great. But not as good. Not as good as 17. So probably in the top 10.
Two fun questions here. Seinfeld or Friends?
Oh, Seinfeld.
Scorpion,
all day long, twice on Sunday.
Scorpion King or the Moraine?
Scorpion King. That's the one where he became Scorpion King, right?
No, you're thinking of the Mummy was like his debut or Mummy Returns or whatever, but Scorpion King.
Yeah, Scorpion King tells the backstory.
Yeah, it's like his coming out. It's his movie.
The Marine was a better movie.
I somehow knew you were going to say that. Mick has an interesting question, one that I don't think we've ever talked about. What's the process for training new referees in the modern era? Are they trained in-house, or does WWE usually go for readily experienced ones?
No, they're all trained. They're all trained, go through the PC and get trained. It's good if you've already refereed before, though.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Do you know if there's somebody, we hear William Regal scouting this guy or that guy or whatever. I mean, are they also looking for referees, or is that a different skill set?
I'll tell you, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, whenever I watch a show, I look at everybody, and I'm always looking for, whether it's a ring announcer or a referee or just somebody hustling backstage to make things happen. Talent is talent. So there's a female referee that works down at Booker's, and she so badly wants to be a wrestler, but I think that she is a great referee, and I'd like to see her try to continue doing just that, because she's really good at her job. So everywhere you go, yeah, I think you're looking at everybody involved as talent. Find the best talent to come in and work.
Friend of the show, Mance Warner, wants to know, why did Power and Glory's push stop out of the blue, and were they ever in consideration for the tag titles?
Well, as far as their push, I don't know that anybody would consider it a push. They were a tag team, and I thought they complemented each other tremendously, because Hurt was the big monster and Paul could fly and work. But it just didn't get over. Maybe because they looked at Herc as a former single guy, now with Paul, who had always been a tag team guy. I don't know. I don't know if they just felt it was retreads. But when you go back and you watch some of their stuff, they complemented each other well, which to me makes a great tag team. But they didn't really click with the audience. It's about the only thing I can think of.
I don't know why this one is fun for me, but Joe Lawson writes in, where at Titan Towers is the vault where the band material is stored? It's so funny to me that there's this perception that there's this group of this collection of DVDs or master tapes or whatever it may be. This stuff could never see the light of day, so it's in like a safe or under a little lock and key under Vince's desk or something. But we know that's not right.
That's what we call, there's another name for it. It's called the best of brother love.
Never let anybody see any of this.
and that's in my office. But, yeah, that's funny. And there is no more tape, folks. Everything's digital.
I think a lot of people want to know the statute of limitations here. We got this question 100 different ways. Here's one of them. Andrew Campbell wants to know, when is Hell in a Cell 2019 finally going to be on a poll?
I think 65. That would be 229. Give me a couple of years. 2034.
Well, that's not that bad.
Yeah.
They'll be there before you know it. So there you go. Everybody wants to know, when you can tackle Hell in a Cell? 2034, buddy. Put it on your calendars right now. We'll do it on the anniversary.
Hey, let's get more specific, Conrad. October.
Yeah, on the exact anniversary. That's what we do, baby.
Yeah. Put on your calendars, folks.
Levi Betts wants to know, did Vince ever talk about starting his own MMA company?
We actually had been in talks with Bob Meyerowitz, who owned the UFC, and Campbell McLaren and those guys, to purchase UFC before the Fertittas came in. So, yeah. But he was looking to actually purchase what was the UFC at the time, which was a no-holds barred, a lot different than it is today. And now they have rules and different things, but it was a completely different animal back in the day. We had talked to them about purchasing them and taking over that company. Then the Fertittas came in and they just offered too much money.
Well, and if you're thinking you're spending too much money on high interest rate credit card bills and it's adding to your stress, we have got a solution for you. Pay off your credit card balances and save yourself some money with a credit card consolidation loan from our friends at Lightstream.com. With Lightstream, you can get a rate as low as 5.95% APR with autopay That's much lower than the national average interest rate of over 20% APR. Plus, your rate is fixed. How about that? You get a fixed rate. So as rates continues to rise, your low rate won't budge. The online application, well, that's quick and easy. You can apply right from your phone, and you can even get your money as soon as the day you apply. And I've told the story a ton here on the show, but I used Lightstream myself back in 2014, I think. And maybe that's right. Either way, years ago, they were so far ahead of the curve. I got the best interest rate I ever had on a car. I did it online. They overnighted me a check the very next day. So I was able to go shop like a cash buyer. I got the best deal on a car I ever had. I got the best interest rate on a car I ever had. And I know you've had a similar experience with Lightstream, right, Bruce?
Absolutely. It helped my daughter get the loan for her car. But the part I like about it the most, it's simple. It's so simple, even I can do it. So if I can do it, I know you can do it. And all you got to do is go to the website, check them out, and they walk you through everything. Absolutely amazing.
Just for our listeners right now, you can apply and get an additional special interest rate discount. Now, the only way to get the discount is to go to lightstream.com/wrestle. That's lightstream.com/wrestle. This is subject to credit approval. The rate is going to include a 0.5% auto pay discount. Terms and conditions apply, and offers are subject to change without notice. So what are you waiting for? Visit lightstream.com/wrestle for more information. That's lightstream.com/wrestle. I can't recommend it enough. You know, if I'm endorsing another financial product on my own podcast, I believe in it. This is a good one. J-Dog writes in, any Marissa Mazzola McMahon stories? You've mentioned Shane's family before, but never his wife by name, and most of his fans remember her from the Livewire era. What can you tell us about Marissa?
Just absolutely one of the sweetest individuals I've ever had the pleasure of knowing in my life. Class all the way, beautiful, and just perfect. I mean, she really is. From the standpoint of, she's a great chef. She's just pleasant human being to be around, and a wonderful mother. I mean, I can't think of anyone or anything that could ever remotely find anything not wonderful to say about Marissa.
Hogan's Thermos asked a few fun questions here. One of them is, has Bruce...
The talks?
I know, right? Has Bruce seen NWA Power yet? And if so, what are his thoughts on the return to studio wrestling in 2019?
Well, if you like studio wrestling, there's studio wrestling.
I take it, since you didn't really grow up on studio wrestling, you're not a big fan of studio wrestling?
I personally am not, because I grew up watching Friday night. You had the matches at the Coliseum. Saturday it was on TV, so it was a big arena feel all the time. And I've never produced studio wrestling. I've never I've done stuff at Channel 5 in Memphis, but that's about the only studio wrestling I've ever been involved with, and it just always was a way for promotion to be able to produce their product inexpensively in a studio where they had their television. So it was a mainstay in the South, all over, from Georgia to Florida, Tennessee, a lot of places. Vern had studio wrestling in Milwaukee, Minnesota, wherever the fuck it was, and it was a mainstay. But when you come from where I came from, the shows were all arena shows, and it just felt bigger than with the studio wrestling. But if you like studio wrestling, man, there's studio wrestling.
We've all heard stories about how Nikita Koloff would stay in character off camera. Any other examples of guys never breaking character, even amongst the boys?
Well, Nikita broke it amongst the boys. Boogeyman pretty much stays in character. Back in the day, Moskowitz never took his mask off. You know what else he never did?
No, yeah.
Oh, yeah. But there were a lot of talents, man, that just back in the day.
By the way, let me just tell you, we've got some dicks who listen to the show. I don't know how much time you spent on social media this week, but poor Eric Bischoff got fucking bombarded with our No Yob shirt, which is available right now at brucepritchard.com, and you should definitely pick one up. But
as well as dude, I used to be over, and pronouns, pal, man,
I don't know why that was just too much for me. The Black Dave Meltzer writes, when Bruce was a Ute, what wrestlers were in his top 5?
Wahoo McDaniel, Johnny Valentine, Jose Lothario, Boris Malenko,
And Terry Funk?
Well, the Funks were number 1. So there you go. That's 5.
Wait. You can't say the Funks. No.
This is Dory, Terry, and Dory Sr.
Well, that's 3, and you already
That's a
had
group.
4.
Well, so you want to... Yeah, okay, then the Funks, Wahoo, and Johnny Valentine.
Sorry, Boris. Jeff Whitaker wants to know, who would you put on your Mount Rushmore of promoters? So we know Bosch is on it. We know McMahon's on it. You got 2 other spots.
Promoters.
Dixie?
No. Dixie wasn't a promoter.
Oh, sorry.
By any stretch of the imagination.
Jerry Jarrett?
Nope. Eddie Graham?
Okay.
I'll put Bill Watts on there.
So Bill Watts, Eddie Graham, Paul Bosch, Vince McMahon. That's your set.
Yeah.
Where's Jim Crockett fall?
I don't think Jim was a promoter either.
Well, hey, asshole, I was trying to get a free plug-in because I can't believe that I did this. I don't know that you saw, but I found Jim Crockett. He's coming to StarCast 4 in Baltimore. It's his first public appearance ever. Nobody's heard from the dude in decades, but I found him. How about that?
How'd you find him?
Lost Promoters R Us.
Yeah.
So he was a promoter because I found him in there on the shelf. He was way in the back. I had to dust him off, but he's going to come down.
Behind the ice cream?
Not just for photo ops. No, it was behind the Sonic Ice.
Okay.
And that's it. We've had it cryogenically frozen all these years, and we're bringing it back to life. We're starting a rival promotion. It's going to be great. Maybe you've seen it at Studio Wrestling. It comes on YouTube on Tuesdays, 6:05. Yeah. Either way, Jim Crockett, man, come on. He's going to do a panel and talk about Jim Crockett promotions, the good, the bad, and the ugly. That's going to be good stuff. StarCast in Baltimore next month.
Huh.
Thanks for helping me put the
I'll be on broadcast TV tonight on the Fox Network.
Yeah,
Check
hey,
your
motherfucker.
listings. Don't need cable. Don't need any of that. It's called Friday Night SmackDown.
I push your shit every week, and I ask for one little plug, and you're like, nah. Fox.
Well, you wanted me to put Jim Crockett over. That ain't gonna happen.
Well, you can put over that I found him. God damn it.
That's a miracle.
Thank you. Just saying.
It's a miracle.
What is Bruce's favorite gimmick match of all time?
Not big on the gimmick matches, as crazy as that sounds. I used to love as a kid either the chain matches, a Russian chain match, or a strap match.
An Indian strap match. You gotta have those ethnicities. We're gonna do that from now on. I think from now on, whenever you guys have gimmick matches on TV, like you should just try in the creative meeting, just suggest that you put a nationality in front. Let's see how it goes.
Alright.
We had a Punjabi prison. We're halfway there, baby.
Yeah. But because that's what I grew up on. I grew up on, cage matches and things like that. So that's what, to me, those were the mainstays. Those were the staples. So that's what was always my favorite.
Jamie wants to know, any good Ricky Steamboat stories? Was he ever considered for a WWF championship run after his successful run with the NWA strap?
I don't know if he was or not. After Ricky had won the Intercontinental Championship at WrestleMania 3 and he wanted a lighter schedule and he left. When he came back, my favorite Ricky Steamboat story is when we went to Florida to work with this guy named Brian LaPalme, who was the last fire breather that we could find that would teach us how to breathe fire. So Ricky and I went, and we spent several days in, I think it was Fort Lauderdale, in this parking lot where the Great American Circus had their tent put up in a mall parking lot. And every day we would go, we would learn how to breathe fire. And the guy tells us, he says, oh yeah, it's real simple. This is all you do. And he was kind of showing off. Main thing you need to do is make sure, hold it up, check the wind, and make sure that you're never blowing into the wind, because it can come back and catch your face on fire, and obviously that wouldn't be good. And the guy shows us, he breathes fire one time, and then he holds the thing up and he turns, and he breathes the second time, and it comes right back in his face, and his face catches on fire. And Steamboat and I turn and look at each other, and Ricky says, yeah, you could call Vince, we're not doing this. And he assured us that was a fluke. That never happened. Man, that's never happened. I think just you guys were here. So we talked Ricky off the roof, and he did it. And I thought that was a pretty cool deal with the fire breathing shit, the fire breathing dragon. It was different.
Let me assure you, son, you are a salesman. When you go show a man, here's a professional, and here's what you're going to do.
This is the guy that's going to teach you.
He lit his fucking face on fire.
Oh, shit.
And you still sold it. It's amazing.
I did.
God damn it.
I did.